This little bluey figurine sits on my desk every day to remind me that comparison sucks the life out of you. And yet, it is our favorite game as adults. Join me inside. Let's talk about how comparison affects our lives and what we can do about it. Welcome to the Wise Doula Podcast, a place for informative, uplifting, and educational conversations. Here, we will discuss all things connected with parenting, from conception to birth, postpartum, and beyond. You are amongst friends here, so go ahead and grab a cup of your favorite drink. Remember, not caffeinated if you are expecting, and join me inside. I can't wait to speak with you. In today's episode, we are talking about comparison. Oh, dear, comparison. The elephant in the room. We all have grown up with comparison around us, especially as children. Boy, our parents, our teachers, and everybody else love to use it to fuel us up to work harder and study harder, right? And we always heard so-and-so's son and so-and-so's daughter is doing great in math. They're getting great grades. They're doing better in this and that. And it was with good intention that our family and teachers did that. They had this beautiful intention of helping us work harder. Maybe for some of you it worked and it was the fuel under your wings and it just skyrocketed you. For some of us, it was quite annoying. And I think instead of fueling us, it made us feel upset and also feel less, right? Feel like we weren't doing enough because there was always somebody that was doing better and we were always needed to be compared to them. Comparison is one of those things that perhaps we think that it doesn't affect us anymore. But comparison is such a part of the make of our bodies and our minds. It is in every fiber of our being because it's been there forever. And it really affects us. And you know what? It can also affect us in early parenting. And what do we call early parenting here at the Wise Doula Podcast? Well, early parenting for me is when you start the parenting journey. And that starts during your fertility journey and as you get pregnant. Yep, you're already a parent in my mind, very much so. So in that early parenting journey and all it encompasses from fertility to pregnancy, postpartum, newborn stage, etc., comparison is a real mojo killer, isn't it? It's just, it messes you up. And like I said, it was used as an incentive when we were growing up. Whether it worked or not, it's a different story, but it was used as an incentive. And now it doesn't feel very incentivating, does it? It doesn't. It makes us feel really terrible. In fact, sometimes in our parenting journeys, we ask for help. We open up ourselves with vulnerability to ask for help, and we get comparison in return. Or sometimes we're just looking for help and it happens to us. You know what I mean? Sometimes people start the comparison. Sometimes you yourself started because you go on social media or you go on your group of friends and you're like, how come everybody has it so together with their fill in the blank, fertility journey, pregnancy, postpartum, etc.? How come I don't? How come she looks like she's having an easy pregnancy and I'm suffering over here? How come? So there is a lot of that. So it's both in, we both encounter it when we talk to other people trying to look for help and they bring on the comparison. Well, when I was pregnant, blah, 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 blah. Or we do it to ourselves because it's, like I said, it's very natural to us. We've always grown up with it, it's always been in our lives. And I really think about how much it really messes with everything when it appears. And how, when we are at such a vulnerable state, which is during our fertility, pregnancy, postpartum journey, how, when we are in those stages, we need all the help and support. And we also need that deep reassurance that we are doing things the best we can. Of course, we don't always get that. So, this book, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse, written by Charlie Mackesy, is full of really beautiful quotes about life. And in one of them that I really, really like, you can see the boy is sitting with the mole on a tree trunk. And he says, "What do you think is the biggest waste of time?" "Comparing yourself to others," said the mole. That really got me thinking. It is truly a waste of time, but we're so used to it, it sometimes comes natural. It's almost like a default setting, right? And let's talk a little bit practically about how that might show up during pregnancy, postpartum, etc. Because sometimes it might be a little sneaky and we might not even notice it's there. So, how does it show up in pregnancy? Well, in pregnancy, it shows up when we mention to somebody that we are having a rough time because of this or that, or I'm really struggling with, um, you know, um, stomach problems, or I'm really struggling with heartburn, or I'm really tired, whatever it is, right? And we're truly asking for help and we're looking for understanding. We're looking for a safe space where we can explain how we feel. What we get in return is, well, when I was pregnant, I didn't feel like that. I had a great time. Everything was this and that. Of course, I'm exaggerating, but there are those people out there, right, that don't recognize the need for help, and instead they use it as a platform to say, well, my pregnancy was better. I don't know why you're having all those problems. So that is one way that it can show up. Um, Another way it can show up. Oh, you're doing that during pregnancy? You're eating that? You're doing that exercise? I didn't do that. I don't think that's good for your baby. Of course, in there we throw both comparison and judgment, right? Um, or it can show up as you look at somebody else who's pregnant and is really doing great with, for example, with their fitness, and they have great energy, and you're looking at yourself going, oh my goodness, what am I doing wrong? They have so much energy. They're they're doing great with their fitness. What am I doing wrong? I must be doing something wrong. Wow, I feel terrible. I'm probably, and then you spiral, right? I'm probably not doing good things for my baby. My baby probably needs that I'm a mom like that, but instead of a mom like this. And you just spiral, right? This is completely normal because comparing ourselves to others is a natural instinct in a way. But what is it that we need to, how do we frame that? How do we step back and go, okay, this is my experience. This comparison is happening, is messing with my head. How can I frame this? How can I look at it? Well, let me tell you, point number one, we're going to look at it from the point of view of every pregnancy is different. Number two, you are doing your absolute best for your baby, and your body was made for growing and nourishing this baby. So you are doing your absolute best. And number three, you are having your own unique experience. You're having a physical experience and an emotional experience. Only you know what that's like because only you are inside your body. And that experience is valid, regardless of what society tells you, your aunt tells you, your cousin, whoever is playing the comparison game. Your experience is valid. At the end of the day, you have to think it's okay. They had their pregnancy journey. I'm having my pregnancy journey. And I am doing my best every day. This baby is nourished and protected and safe inside of me. And we're going to keep going and figuring out what it is that we need to adapt or change or tweak in collaboration, of course, with in communication with your healthcare provider, etc. So that's in pregnancy. Now let's talk about postpartum. What can it look like in postpartum? So in postpartum, it could be somebody that is coming to you and saying, "Oh, wow, you're still bleeding? You're still having lochia?" Mine was like super short, you know, or it only lasted this many days. And I didn't have any issues. "Oh, you have low energy?" Mm, I had a great postpartum, or "Oh, you're having some issues with breastfeeding?" Nah, my breastfeeding journey was wonderful. My baby latched like no problem. All of these things, number one, always take them with a grain of salt because as people, we tend to exaggerate things many, many times. So always take them with a grain of salt. And number two, I'm going to reinforce this concept. Within the realms of what's a normal postpartum, and what I mean by that is your doctors or midwife has explained this is what's going to happen in postpartum, this is what you can expect with bleeding, this is what you can expect with recovery, etc., etc. As long as you are within the normal parameters of postpartum recovery and nothing is out of sorts, if something is a red flag for you, definitely talk to your doctor. Then you are having the postpartum journey that you need to have. And again, it is a unique postpartum journey to you and your baby. Nothing wrong if your baby is having, for example, a difficult time with breastfeeding or latching or something. You're having a unique experience with your baby. And as such, you're going to need unique support in areas that are different from your friend or your relative. And anybody that tells you that they had a perfect postpartum, I don't know, unless they were tended to on hand and feet by an army of 25 maids, it's quite doubtful, okay? Because the postpartum period is intense and rough for everybody, okay? Because of all the physiological changes, hormonal changes, etc. So always take what people say with a grain of salt. But I want to invite you to really think about that. Really think about how it's a unique journey and a unique learning curve that you have. Remember, your baby is now with you, not inside of you. And now you are learning this language, this connection. What works, what doesn't. At the same time, you're interpreting everything that is happening in your body, right? So there is a lot of information happening here. There is a drop in hormones. There is a lot of adjustments that happen at the physiological level as well as the mental emotional level. There's a lot of adjustments as far as family roles and etc. And in a way, you're learning a dance. And this reminds me of when I was regularly taking ballroom and Latin dance lessons. And when you do a step with a partner, there is always a step and there is a response to that step. Okay. If your foot moves forward, their foot is going to move backward. For example, in a basic salsa step. So there is a step and there is a reaction. There is an adjustment to what's happening. Of course, in the context of a dance class, we know what's going to happen because we've learned the steps before. In the context of your baby, You are learning this as you go. Okay. It is a delicate dance that is happening, and you are both learning to dance together. So, in this dancing together, there are going to be moments that are going to be up and moments that are going to be down. And there is going to be adjustments along the way. So, your postpartum journey is valid. You tell yourself, my postpartum journey is valid, and I need to have the postpartum experience I need to have. Of course, always asking for help, professional help when things are not going, according to plan. Okay. And that includes both talking to your doctor, both finding a therapist if you need help with mental emotional health. So, yes, that is all part of the experience and very much valid. So, where else can this comparison show up? It can show up as your baby gets a little older. Okay, just a little older. And all sorts of people are coming and saying, "Oh, your baby doesn't sleep this many hours? Well, my baby sleeps all those hours. Even from the time he was 3 months old, he already slept this many hours. And my baby's already on solids. Your baby's not on solids. What are you doing? Your baby should be on solids." And you're sitting there figuring out again this dance with your baby, this communication with your baby. If it's your first baby, you're figuring out a whole lot of things. If it's your second, third, etc., you still have to dance with your baby because every child is different, but you have experience with how things go, right? And you are figuring things out, and that is absolutely okay. Unless there are red flags that make you worry or feel concerned that you need professional help with, I encourage you to feel very reassured that you are doing everything right. Okay? That you are doing your best. That's the most important part, that you are doing your best. And let's understand something. Very young babies, children in general, they're all going to hit the same milestones, but they are going to arrive there at different times. Their development, even though it's going to hit those milestones, is unique to them. Okay. There are circumstances that can play a part on that. There are circumstances surrounding birth, surrounding the postpartum period, surrounding your family situation. So there are a lot of things that could fall into place. So there are a lot of things that could be happening to create these circumstances. And so, again, I'm going to say your journey with your baby is unique. Okay. Of course, be aware of developmental milestones, be aware of when they're supposed to hit this milestone, that milestone, etc. But realize that your baby and you are in this delicate conversation, in this unfolding of this relationship. And that is going to be unique to you and your family. So, what happens in our brain when people emphasize all this comparison around us and tell us all these things? Or when we do it to ourselves, right? Because we feel bad when we read what other people are doing, for example, in social media. What happens is that we start feeling insecure. We start feeling like we're doing a terrible job. We start feeling inadequate. I don't know how to be a mom. I am not doing my best for this child. What if I'm harming my child? Why is it that everybody else has it figured out, but I don't? All of these things start happening, and they're normal emotions. But of course, they can snowball real quick. So the important part is to remember that as long as you have spoken with your healthcare provider and your birth professional, if you have hired a doula or childbirth educator, your lactation educator, your midwife, any of the professionals that surround you from different fields, As long as you have spoken with them and you have gotten your, guidelines about, what to do with the baby, etc., and you're following those, you are doing your absolute best. Like we said, if you notice a red flag, something that is not quite right, that is a little bit off, immediately talk to your provider, immediately look for help. But as long as you're doing the basics of what it is to grow your baby during pregnancy and nurture your baby in postpartum, feel reassured that you are doing the best you can and that your baby is safe and your baby is nourished and nurtured with you. So, with the understanding that we are humans and that comparison is going to happen because it's part of who we are, what can we do about it, right? We always want to come out with two good ideas, solid ideas that we can use to have a more confident experience, right? And to have a more empowered experience. So, two tips that we can do. The number one tip is to replace all that sorrow and sadness and all that comparison, replace it with joy, replace it with curiosity, replace it with good quality wondering. So when somebody's telling us or showing us that they're doing things different, the curiosity might look like, I wonder why they're doing that. Is that something that is working better for them? Why? Is that a new technique that I need to look into? Is that something that could be beneficial to me and my baby? Okay. So that's where the joy and curiosity comes in, as well as thinking, it's okay. I am happy that their journey went this way. I have my own unique journey. Okay. So that's number one. And what's number two? Number two is that we are going to practice setting firm boundaries for those people in our life that like to spend all the time in comparison. So, what that looks like is you very calmly listen to them and then you say, thank you very much for your input. It is appreciated. However, in our family, we have this philosophy for our pregnancy and this philosophy for our postpartum. And as much as we appreciate your advice, this is the way our family has decided to do things. Now, setting boundaries is one of those things that you have to practice over and over and over. It is not easy. For some people, it's natural. For some people, they set boundaries quite easily. For a lot of us, it's really hard and it feels like it physically hurts at times. So I encourage you, if you struggle a little bit with setting boundaries, I am learning myself. I encourage you to be okay with it. Believe me, the first time it's like, ugh. And then the more you do it, it gets easier. So ultimately be reassured in your own journey. And I know that this is not like, chanting something or other and then I'm magically restored and I don't care about comparison. Because the truth is we do. So my advice to you is honestly that is be reassured in your own journey. As long as things are going okay medically, as long as things are going okay physically, emotionally, etc., and you don't have any red flags, that things are not where they should be reassured that you are following all the steps and doing your best for your baby. And when in doubt, of course, ask for professional help always. But also remember that our bodies are wise. We've been birthing babies since the beginning of time. and we will continue to do so, hopefully. So be motivated and joyful about your own journey. Yes, with its ups and downs. Yes, with the difficult days and the easy days and all of that. Okay. Those are my tips for today. I hope you have found this episode useful. And in wrapping up, we are going to do birth in history today instead of birth at the movies. Okay. Birth in history. So for our birth in history segment, I am using this book, World Medicines, as a resource. And it's really interesting to read that in ancient Greece, Socrates' mother was a midwife, and that midwives were quite widespread in ancient times. And they were the predecessors of doctors, they were the original healers. So, how incredible is that? Also, the fact that they had such knowledge of like how to use herbs and different natural medicines, that they were an absolute encyclopedia of information. And it's beautiful to think that since ancient times, women have been helping other women give birth, and women have been healing, helping heal other women. So let's continue that tradition, whether you're a doula, a childbirth educator, whether you're a mom, whatever profession you're working on, how can you help heal somebody else today? And how can you help them step away from this comparison game and have a more fulfilled parenting experience? Thank you for being with us today, and I can't wait to see you next week. Bye for now. Hey, you have listened to the Wise Doula Podcast today. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember, everything we discussed today was meant for entertainment and educational purposes only. It does not substitute the advice of your medical provider. Would you do us a favor? Follow me on Instagram at LovingBellyDoula. Also, let me know what other topics you would like to see me discuss in this podcast. And please subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platforms. Thank you so much. I will see you next week.